Good afternoon and welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hesham Tillawi. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we made it back from Chicago. As most of you know, that we went up there. That's why we did not have a live show last week, because we were attending the Palestinian American National Conference. It's a conference that we and Current Issues TV and radio had worked on this project with many other people. And finally it took place in Chicago this past weekend. And this is here. If we go to 3, it should be, this is the booklet actually, or the book that came about with all types of messages and endorsements from different organizations, different people. Just to read a few, like the American Free Press out of Washington, D.C., the Arab American Institute, the Barnes Review, Center for Palestinian Studies at North Park University. We have the Council of American Islamic Relations, the Crescent and the Cross Solidarity Movement, and many, many others, the Palestinian American Federation, the Palestinian American Congress, and many other organizations. It was an interesting conference, and many people, of course, had helped us with placing ads in the book, in the ad book. That's basically, we don't have millions of dollars to spend on a conference, so we very much have people, good people, who will put ads in these ad books to basically pay for the conference. You know, it doesn't really pay for the whole conference, but it does help pay for the conference. I'll tell you what, it was exciting driving up there. It wasn't bad. I mean, I drove back and over there, up and down, 3,200 miles. And you can imagine how much money we spent on the on gas. Let's go to 2, please. And, you know, we paid at one time $4.29 per gallon. $4.29 per gallon. It started coming down. The further south you go, the cheaper it gets, and the cheapest we got was $3.79. But we paid $3.99, $4, $4.10, $4.19, $4.29 was the highest that we paid. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, when you think about how much we were paying before we attacked Iraq, you will be surprised. You know, we were paying $1.19 back in 2002, and in 2003 it jumped to $1.59, and we thought it was wow. After the war, of course, it started going up to $1.79 and $1.89, and we thought it was the end of the world then. Well, now if we see it $3.79, we say hallelujah, and we start singing the blues. Of course, most of you are singing the blues when you look at your gas bill, much less when you look at your grocery bill. Everything is going up. Everything is going up. The cost of living is going out of this world in this country. And, you know, I wonder if this was coming, if we did not go and destroy half of the world out there. Some people said that, oh, we were going there for oil. Well, I tell you what, if we're going there for oil, they can keep that oil, because we were getting it much cheaper before we went there and killed 1 million people. We very much consume, ladies and gentlemen, 400 million gallons of gas a day right here in the United States. 400 million gallons of gas a day that we consume. And you can imagine when we were paying $1.19 and now we're paying $4. Just think all that money that's being siphoned out of your pocket to go in someone's pocket. I'm not really sure who it is. I'm sure the oil-producing countries are singing hallelujah, and they left the blues to us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the conference was very good. We're not going to have a guest today. I barely made it. Last night we came in late after driving straight. So you can imagine how tired we were when we got here. And today it was very much playing catch-up at the office and things that needed to be done. So today we are going to very much visit, me and you. We have not done this in a long time. Welcome your phone calls. We're going to be tackling a couple of issues. Of course, the Obama and the McCain and Scott McCullough. And, whatever comes, whatever you bring our way. The phone number, of course, as you see it on the screen, you can write it down because it does not stay on the screen all the time. And do call us. Let us hear from you if you have any questions or comments. The conference, like I said earlier, it was very well. It was exciting. I was happy to see a lot of young people at the conference. Ben Gurion, the guy who very much started this whole mess back in 1948, he said he was talking about the Palestinians when the Jews who came out of Europe stole the land from the Palestinians. He very much said the old will die and the young will forget. What I saw in Chicago, ladies and gentlemen, is something completely different. Apparently, Ben Gurion did not really know the Palestinians that well when he made that statement, because the young were more excited and the young still remember. Memory is being carried on and passed on from generations to generations. As a matter of fact, the young people know more about Palestine and know more about what Palestine used to be than the older generation that is fading away. But I can tell you that the Palestinians will never forget, because, ladies and gentlemen, when it's yours and it's been taken away from you, you don't forget that. And no one should ever forget their rights, human rights. The right as a human to live in dignity and live in peace. That's very much what the Palestinians are asking for, and as long as they are after it, definitely they will get it. We're not going to get into what Israel has done. We've done this many, many times. But I really think that the American people and the support we received from the average person on the street and the letters of encouragement and the letters of endorsement and the people who showed up at the conference who never heard of the Palestinian problem before, they were able to be educated in what the problem really is. Because they said our only source is very much Fox and CNN. That's, the mainstream media, which is very much controlled by the people who stole the money or stole the land from the Palestinians. So what do you think they're going to tell you? But thanks to many, many avenues that are available there for the Palestinians to to get their message out, because definitely they have a story to tell. And thank God there are many people still out there in the world who can still distinguish between nonsense and between reality, as when our president went to Israel a couple of weeks ago to celebrate the birth of Israel, and when he called it the homeland for the Jews, of course, this is a ridiculous statement because without getting into the religious aspect of it, we've done many of shows on what exactly that statement means and who the chosen people are, etc., etc. We can get into a semi-complicated argument there, but this is not the topic today. Definitely, we covered it before, and we will cover it again to actually who were the chosen people and what were they chosen for. If you listen to John Hagee, who McCain now is trying to distance himself from, even though he went after him. McCain went after John Hagee for over a year trying to get an endorsement from him, and finally when John Hagee gave him the endorsement, which he gave him the endorsement last year, but a couple of weeks ago, John McCain very much told John Hagee that I don't want your endorsement, and so you've seen what happened with Jeremiah Wright and Barack Obama, and Barack Obama distanced himself completely from his previous pastor. It took him stages to do it, even though what Jeremiah Wright said compared to what this idiot Hagee said is you can't even compare the two together. And you've seen the media how they treated Barack Obama and his pastor, and how the Hagee, and actually Hagee is not the only one. We've told you about Rod Parsley, who very much said that it was a divine intervention, that the United States was created, and it was God meant by the United States to kill Muslims, to kill all the Muslims in the world. That's very much what this other idiot said. And what's so sad about this thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that both of these people, they use the Bible to stand on. They use the Bible to preach this hate-mongering religion that they are teaching. And if anyone knows what the Bible teaches how to love. He even teaches how to love your enemies. These people, somehow this hate-mongering theology that they are spewing out there, and they have some followers, but I really think that the mask is beginning to fall off, because many people know that this theology, what John Hagee's theology is, a man who said that God sent Adolf Hitler to help the Jews reach the promised land. So it was a godly, divine instrument that very much committed the atrocities during World War I and World War II and during all these. But very much when you put Hitler in there and the Jews, I think we all know what John Hagee is saying. So he's saying if you believe what the Jews believe, that 6 million died, then I guess John Hagee is saying that God sent Hitler, the Catholic, to very much help the Jews go into the promised land. These are the comments that very much McCain found harming to him, and so he distanced himself from John Hagee. Well, there's a guy in the McCain campaign who still refused to distance himself from John Hagee, and that is Joseph Lieberman, who many people think that he might be very much be considered for the second spot in the John McCain formula here, or maybe Secretary of State. Now, as most of you know, that Lieberman was a Democrat who very much broke with his party ranks because they were against the war. He was for the war because that war was for Israel, and destroying Iraq was for Israel. So it doesn't matter what happened to the United States as long as Israel is satisfied. Then the Jew Lieberman, maybe a lot of you don't know that Lieberman is Jewish, and he very much, it doesn't matter, he will break through, these people will break through the whole country when it comes to Israel. Now, listen to when he was questioned about it, he said, they asked him about it, that, hey, look, John McCain distanced himself from Hagee. Why are you still going to be the keynote speaker at John Hagee's function in July, which is going to take place on July 22nd in Washington? Something that John Hagee had started, which is, it's called Christians United for Israel. And Lieberman will be the keynote speaker there. Well, what Lieberman said, he said that John Hagee, he represents a lot of people in the country, particularly Christians, who care about the state of Israel. Listen to this again. So it doesn't really matter what John Hagee said about Catholics and what he said about the Catholic religion, not just the Hitler comment. John Hagee said a lot about the Catholics. He said a lot about the Catholic religion. He said a lot about the Blessed Mother. He said a lot about, I can't see how this man still calls himself a Christian. Unfortunately, Christianity, ladies and gentlemen, became a brand that many people are using because you can capitalize on that. Call anything a Christian. You have Zionist Christian. What in the world is a Zionist Christian? But they are out there, and they have a lot of numbers. But I really think that their numbers are dwindling because the good people out there are becoming to see the truth. They're becoming to see exactly what is going on in the world. So all it matters to Joseph Lieberman that this man, John Hagee, has a lot of followers, Christian followers, who care about Israel. So now the litmus test, ladies and gentlemen, with anybody, it doesn't matter if you love this country or if you hate it. It doesn't matter if you want destruction for this country or not. Last week, Orthodox Jews in Palestine, they call it Israel, they burnt the New Testament. They stepped all over the New Testament. But you didn't see that. And that was okay. As long as anyone is for Israel, then he's okay, no matter how horrible he is. And John Hagee is a horrible person. A person who thinks in his theology that, and the Jews, they know what John Hagee is all about. But yet, they say, well, look, doesn't matter what he's saying, he's nuts, we know that. God is not going to start Armageddon down here and wipe out Israel. John Hagee is bringing us a lot of money. John Hagee is bringing us a lot of political power in the United States. So let his nonsense theology be it, as long as he has given a benefit to Israel. This is what John Hagee theology is. And he takes that out of the Bible. The Bible, you can interpret that Bible in many, many ways. Some of them are nutty, just like this guy is. Now, if I'm offending anyone out there, no apology. Because if you are interpreting the Bible to say that you are going to create situation in the Middle East to bring the long-awaited Armageddon to the Middle East, so you can, with your little self, get dressed in your suits and dresses to rapture up there, while people in the Middle East are dying from the nuclear wars and nuclear weapons that you paid for, killing millions of people, just so you can rapture with your little self and sit on the right hand side of God, looking at us down here going through the turmoil. I don't know what God you are worshiping, but that's not the God of the Bible. That's not the God who said to love everybody. That's not the God who said that He values life. And if God wants Armageddon in the Middle East, He does not need you. He does not need you to instigate wars in the Middle East, because that's exactly what John Hagee is after. These are the people that pushed our other idiot in the White House to go to war against Iraq, to kill all these people. And now they are talking about going after Iran, basically to start this nuclear war. And he said it, by the way. John Hagee said it in his book that was published in 2007. He said before that book will be published, we will have a nuclear war in the Middle East. Thank God it did not happen. Or should I say, it has not happened. Because it could. It could happen. Now there is a trend, ladies and gentlemen, very much similar to what took place earlier. I know I have people waiting, so please just wait for a couple of more minutes. I'm going to go straight to you, because I do want everybody's input in this. This is a serious matter. This is a serious matter because what John Hagee wants, he wants to have this Armageddon, kill as many people as you can, and those Jews who survive. Now, of course, forget about the Muslims. The Muslims they're going to go. But those Jews who will survive this, they will convert to Christianity. Now, if that's not the nuttiest thing that you have ever heard, okay, read your Bible. Don't tell me you listen to your pastor or you listen to your priest and your priest said that. No. Don't be dependent just on these guys, because these guys are entrenched in politics. John Hagee is up to his nose in politics. The only victims right here are the people who believe in this. Those are the real victims. And God forbids if these forces of evil, because what they are pushing the country as they pushed it before we went to war against Iraq, a country that did not do us anything, but because it was a Middle Eastern country that we can go there, destroy, start Armageddon. Start the dominoes effect for Armageddon, so these people can rapture and be happy. Selfish people who don't care about anyone except them. So what happens with this Armageddon thing? This is what supposedly, and this guy is defending Israel. He's defending Israel as long as Israel is going to be the first victim, because he wants to destroy it, and those who survive want to convert them to Christianity. Well, I'll tell you what, before we go into the next topic, which is it's a little bit related to this, because what we are thinking will happen in Iran is extremely important, and it is related to what we are talking about here. And then after we go to the phones, we're going to talk about the Kiss and Tell book by Scott McClellan. It is interesting analysis that you will hear. But let's go to the phones with Freedom. Freedom.
Oh, yes, Dr. Tillawi?
Welcome to the show, sir. It's been a while since we had you on the show.
Man, I hope you were on the show last week. I've been kind of busy running around trying to get my Brother Freedom Act together and trying to do all those things. And right now, I am deeply, deeply disappointed in Barack Obama. I want to ask you a question. We have a large Arab community in the United States, Arab American community, okay? They number about 6.5 million or so, okay? We also have a Jewish population in the United States that numbers about 6 million from what we understand. Now, Barack Obama went to Boca Raton last week and spoke in front of a Jewish group.
And he promised not to have Farrakhan as his Secretary of State.
You're absolutely right. Now, I want to ask you a question. The Arab communities have some concerns about what is going on in the Middle East also, because that is where their ancestry is. Now, will Barack Obama, in your opinion, go in front of an Arab group and speak, or will he just continue to pander to the Jewish community because of the power of AIPAC and the people who are on his committee, like Zbigniew Brzezinski and all these people, telling him that he's got to act nice with the Jewish community? What does the Arab community across the United States feel about this? Will they be, who in the world are they going to vote for? John McCain is against him. John McCain has chosen Reverend Hagee, as you know, and he also chose Ron Parsons, the other televangelist from Ohio. And he has said some terrible things about the Muslim community.
Sure, Rod Parsons, yeah.
Who will the Arab community support, in your opinion? And thanks very much.
Thank you. Well, I think that the answer to that question is very obvious. Now, Barack Obama, he has to say what he has to say to satisfy the Jewish vote. You see, the Jewish vote is not really that important. It's the Jewish money and the Jewish influence. Now, from the beginning, if any of you have been with me and listening to my weekly either radio or TV shows, you will know that I have predicted that Barack Obama will be the nominee for the Democratic Party. For one reason and one reason only. Now, I missed it on the Republican Party, because I thought they would have somebody else besides John McCain. But then as we went through the process, then it dawned on me why John McCain. Number one, John McCain is the only one who will do 100% of what George Bush has done. It will be a third term for George Bush if we elect McCain. If we want prices and cost of livings and oil prices and disasters in the world to continue, then vote for Barack Obama. Now, as far as the Arabs in the United States and abroad, believe me, the Arabs in the whole world are watching the American elections very, very well, as if it was their own elections, because they know what will happen if McCain is the president. It is going to be a continuance of the disastrous and the lying and the lies that George Bush had given them. And believe me, they have lies stacked up to the ceilings when it comes to what George Bush promised. You know, where is the democracy that he promised the Middle East? Where is the medicine and the food that he promised the Middle East? The Middle East, the Middle Eastern people, the Arab people look around them and they see nothing but bodies, dead bodies. They look around them and they see nothing but more and more dictatorships on their backs. Bush's friends in the Middle East are the most dictatorial governors, of course, kings and emirs and sultans and all, whatever you want to call them. So there is no way on earth that Arabs will be voting for John McCain. I have been talking with a lot of Arabs, and most of them are pushing for Barack Obama. You can't blame them. Now, Barack Obama is not saying the right things of what Arabs wants to hear, but Barack Obama is promising something of a lesser degree than what John McCain is promising. Barack Obama said that he would speak with the president of Iran. This was during the campaign. I think it was in December or November of last year. Now he's changing it. But he's changing it because as if it is a crime to speak with the Iranian president. You know, Iran has not done us any harm officially. We're the ones who went over there, destroyed the country that was right there on their border. Iran, as anyone would do, would want to maximize their interest. We should not look at Iran as a country who's going to have the American best interest above their own best interest. So Iran is doing what Iran is expected to do in the circumstances that we as Americans went over there across the world and put them in that situations, put the Iranians in that situations. Jimmy Carter, who was president in this country, who I respect, but not as much as many people respect him. I respect him for what he had done for the Palestinians. I respect him for what he had said last week. He mentioned that Israel has 150 nuclear bombs. On this show, we have been telling you for 6 years that Israel has nuclear bombs. They don't like to mention that they have them. We say they don't have them. We say don't ask them. Israel is the only one who refused to sign the non-proliferation treaty, non-proliferation treaty, which basically says we need to control these weapons of mass destruction. So we put Israel right there in the area, give them nuclear bombs. We tell everybody there, don't you touch that nuclear, even for peaceful. You know, nuclear energy, if we have been paying attention to nuclear energy, we would be having cars running on nuclear energy, and we don't need all that garbage. It'd be much, much cleaner. So, what is Barack Obama doing? Now, let me get back before I answer the question and qualify my answer more. I told you before that Barack Obama had to get the nomination because he's the only one that McCain can beat. Not because of his experience, not because of the length of time he spent in government, not because McCain is a better president than Obama, because Obama is the only one that McCain can beat based on color. Take that, digest it, because you know deep down inside that that's what's going to happen. You can tell me, look, people are so hyped up, they want to change. Yeah. Just give the media that is controlled by the people who don't like Obama. You have, I'm sure, if you listen to right talk show hosts, actually the wrong talk show hosts, like Hannity, O'Reilly, Limbaugh, and the other cronies and other idiots that are on there that basically doing nothing but spewing hate and lies about Barack Obama. Now they are starting to bring the Hussein name more and more. It's letters. And they will tell you. Now, if there was someone named Hitler after World War II, would you have voted for it? And of course, you're going to say no, even though Hitler is just letters. Don't mean anything by themselves. And Hussein is a name. Don't mean anything by themselves. Now, they want to capitalize on his name. They want to capitalize that he had spent a couple of years during his youth in a Muslim school. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, right here in Lafayette, Louisiana, do you know how many Muslim schools are in Muslim students are in Christian private schools right here in Lafayette, Louisiana? Many of them. So, having attended a Christian school does not make you a Christian. And if Obama attended an Islamic school because he lived in an Islamic country, they call them madrasas. We've been through this on this show. Madrasa, it means school in Arabic. Again, letters. Madrasa, school. These letters by themselves don't mean anything except it tells you in your head to understand where you are going. If I say, are you going to school? In your head, you probably imagine school. You're not going to imagine the mall when I say, are you going to school? Unless you are planning on skipping school that day. Now, where the Muslim votes and the Arab votes going to go? Definitely. Overwhelmingly, it will go for Barack Obama. Not because he had a Muslim background, not because he has Hussein in his name and they're going to relate to that. No. Because Barack Obama promises to get us out of the big mess that we are in. There's nobody else. I'm not saying there's nobody else in the country that can do that. There are many people. But right now we are looking at Barack and Obama and John McCain. Between the two, the only one that can put a stop to the nonsense is Barack Obama. But unfortunately, many of you, even Democrats, will not vote for this man because this man looks like a black man. Because you know deep down inside that John McCain will not take this country out of the big mess that it's in. You know, Scott McCullough, he just did a book not long ago. I think it just came out. And he's saying a lot of stuff about what went on in the Bush administration before we went and attacked Iraq. They manipulated the information. They kept this thing, he's saying that they kept it under, it was a secret plan. If we are in a democracy, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have any such a thing as a secret plan. When you wage war, you involve the people. Because after all, it is the people who are going to be giving you their children to go and fight with. But the president kept this, and we kept telling you about what's going on in the war in Iraq, that the administration is not telling you the truth. They scared you to death. Once they scared you to death that your own life is in jeopardy, that's when you said, take my son and go fight with him. Take him to battle. And that's what happened. More than 4,000 good people who could have been very successful in life, young people, some of them could have been president if they were allowed to live, but they were not. You know, when they said how much the war was going to cost the United States, they said between 100 to 200 billion dollars. And actually, this guy Larry Lindsey, who took very much the cat out of the bag, and told us in 2002 that the war was going to cost about 100 to 200 billion dollars, and George Bush got very upset because this guy let this out that we might be planning on attacking Iraq. They wanted to keep everything secret until they program you to fear for your life, until all of you started saying, and I have heard it, I've heard it from mothers of those who went to Iraq to fight. I've heard it from those who went to Iraq to fight. This is what the army was indoctrinating, and you know yourselves. You know yourselves. When you kept repeating day and night to your friends, to yourselves, until you started believing it, that we need to go and fight them on their streets before they come and fight us on our streets. How many times did you tell that? I've heard it from the troops themselves. I've heard it from the families of the troops themselves. Mothers. Now, how in the world are they going to come here and fight us? What did the Iraqis do to us? What did the Iraqis do to us? The Iraqis at that time, when we went and slaughtered 1 million of them, they had lost 500 million. 5 million. 5 million children due to lack of medicine and lack of food. We had an embargo. We had sanctions on Iraq for 12 years before we went and attacked it. They could not get enough medicine. They could not get enough food. Children died, 5 million of them. And when our Secretary of State at the time, Madeleine Albright, was asked about this, if it was worth it, and she said, yes, it was worth it. So we are becoming gods to decide who dies and who lives. Even when it comes to our own children, we decide who dies and who lives. They said the war was going to cost 100 billion to 200 billion. Right now, the war is costing $660 billion. $660 billion, including the budget that we are working with now. But really, the cost of war, ladies and gentlemen, is a lot higher than that. 100 times higher than that. Imagine the productivity for the good of the world. The million Iraqis that died. Imagine their productivity. Isn't that worth something? I don't want to put money on human lives. That will be in the hundreds of trillions. Can you value your life? Would you take $10,000 for it? Would you take $1 million for it? What about $10 million for it? If someone comes tells you, hey, I'm going to give you $10 million. If I get to shoot you, would you say, okay? No. But forget about that value. Let's just stick with the value that we lost. Do you know the people who died, the 4,080 whatever, and of course, that number, I always question that number because there are many, many, many more that are not counted in this official Pentagon number of 4,070 something or whatever. Can you imagine how much money these people, if we're talking about money, how much money these people will be making? How much money they will be making for the country? What kind of people did we lose? Will they be the next Bill Gates? Will they be the next whatever? What about those that are maimed with arms and feet cut off and eyes gone? What about all these? What we have, about 40,000 of them? What about that monetary? You want to put a monetary value on that? So alone, if we don't count all that, if we don't count the loss of productivity for all people who died, Iraqis and Americans, it would be a hell of a lot more than the $660 billion that we are already spending. You know, most of you are getting these $300 checks and $600 checks and $900 checks and $1,800 checks to stimulate the economy. Do you know how much did they spend on that? Not even $1 billion. Not even $1 billion. Where the heck you think they got that money from? They borrowed it so you can have it in your hand. You know, this is like having a drop of water in a sea or in an ocean. That's how much it's going to do. That money is already spent just on the rise in gas prices. It's already spent. Do you know what $600 billion would have done for the United States? We will not be paying what we're paying now for food. We will not be everything is going up, and it's going. The country is going into the people are like zombies. They're just raising prices all over the place. You know, you go everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. You know, if you take $100 with you and thinking you're going to get something, no, you're not. You're going to get a couple of things. Where are we going? Where are we supposed to be getting this money from? But yet, we find $1 trillion to spend on a war. And you know what you do when you spend money on a war? You blow it up. You know, that's it. $1 million. Poof. It goes. Missile, 1.25 million. It goes. It kills few people, but that's it. That's all. You know, it really gets me with these people like Scott McClellan when he was the spokesman. When he, you know, the things that he wrote in his book, when he's talking about how Bush manipulated the public opinion. Well, Mr. McClellan, you were the one manipulating public opinion. Why did you stay in that job? And, you know, you came with Bush from Texas. You've been with him for a long time. Now he's talking bad. Well, we know what Bush was doing. We did not need somebody like Scott McClellan to come and tell us how bad Bush, because we knew how bad he was, still is. And then ABC, they want to get somebody to rebuttal what Scott McClellan was saying, so they go and get Ari Fletcher. Now, you all still remember good Ari Fletcher. They got him on, that's the guy, and he was saying that, Scott McClellan doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't know where he got that information from. And it's like, wait a minute, you know, Ari Fletcher, number one. Now, this guy used to be the White House spokesman before Scott McClellan became. Now, this guy is Jewish. He is the director of the Jewish Republican something Congress, the Jewish Republican Congress. Of course, he's going to defend Bush. What do you think he's going to do? Now, this guy and McClellan had the same job. He had it before McClellan. This is the guy that was telling us before we went to war against Iraq. This was the guy who was Bush's voice during. And now we know, of course we knew, and most of our viewers knew, that these people lied. But now you know the liars. I guess now he's trying to make his nose even bigger. Put an extension on his nose. Because he lied just like Bush lied. Bush lied, millions died. And you wonder what else. You know, these kiss and tell books. I'm really tired of these. You know, if you are a man of integrity, don't continue in that job if you think you don't agree with it. If your conscience is not 100% with it, even when you know it's wrong. If you are a good person, you leave. Now, if Scott McClellan came with George Bush from Texas, and he really believed in George Bush, unless, of course, George Bush was a vehicle for Scott McClellan to get to Washington, to be famous and writing books. Because let's face it, if Scott McClellan did not find a George Bush to leech on, I guess no one will know who Scott McClellan is, and he will not be making the money he's making from this book and speaking engagement and charging $15,000 per speech. I don't know how much he charges, but that's the going rate for guys like these. When they are out, when they finish the limelight, then when they become famous, then they start the kiss and tell, just like George Tenet did. George Tenet was there from the beginning. You know, the only one, and I really respect him for that. I don't know if there's a book by Colin Powell as a kiss and tell book. I don't know if there is. Maybe there is. I mean, there's so much that you have to keep up with, but I haven't seen it. And probably he's the one that he felt he got screwed, and he jumped ship. And he said, I don't like it. But George Tenet stayed on the job, and then after he left, he wrote his book. Scott McClellan could have done something. Jimmy Carter could have done something for the Palestinians when he was a president. He could have mentioned that Israel had nuclear bombs when he was president. Right now, everybody is like, if Jimmy Carter had said something like gospel or something, yeah, sure, thank you very much for saying it. Sure, we can use it. Now a president is saying it, but it's out there. Why didn't he say it before? Why is he just now saying that that Israel has nuclear bombs? Now, I don't think we have any people holding on that, because we only have a couple of minutes left, I think. 3 minutes? Okay. But, you know, the latest thing, ladies and gentlemen, they are scaring you with this threat. FBI has a threat out there, that new Al-Qaeda weapons of mass destruction threat. They put out, the FBI Tuesday, they put out a bulletin to 18,000 law enforcement agencies warning that Al-Qaeda has made new threats to use weapons of mass destruction against the United States. Now, you know, these threats are made all the time, so this is not something new. But anytime I read something like this, the first thing comes to my head is what the warnings that we used to get before 9/11 took place. If they are planning on hitting Iran, ladies and gentlemen, then I guarantee you, before they go and hit over there, they're going to plan to do something here. And it will not be Al-Qaeda. It will be somebody else. Maybe the same people who want McCain to be in business. Maybe the same people who made 9/11 their business. Maybe it's the same people who planned it. They are planning, because if Obama is the president of the United States, that's like a monkey wrench being thrown in the middle of their mix. And Barack Obama, I hope Barack Obama will be the next president of the United States, even though I really have my doubt, because a lot of people will say, we don't want black for president. It's amazing how ignorant some people are, and some people will be, because this is the man who's going to be the savior of this country, probably the savior of the world. Probably if Barack Obama, you know, the whole attitude of the world will change if Barack Obama is the president of the United States. Forget about politics, ladies and gentlemen. Forget about Democrats and Republicans. I'm a Republican. But I will not be voting for a man who promises to kill more people, who promised to be in Iraq for 100 years. I will not be voting for a man who believes the nonsense of Rod Parsley. I will not be voting for John McCain because I don't want to vote for George Bush. Doesn't matter if you like Barack Obama or not. Don't vote color, ladies and gentlemen. Don't vote color. The future of the world is in your hands. And I guess you see where we will be going with this once the campaign actually